My thread right back behind the bead, and I'm going to wrap my thread down the hook shank to the bend opposite the barb of the hook. Okay, I will trim the excess off, and then I'm just going to grab a bunch of the fibers, and you'll see that. You'll see the butt ends are rather square, so what I'm going to do with my right hand is I'm going to compress all that down. Okay, then I'm just going to grab it by the tips, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this in using kind of a soft loop, and I don't want the tail to necessarily be the length of the body. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. So I'm going to tie the tail on here like this, and then I'm just going to, with light wraps, not real heavy wraps, I'm just going to wrap back to past the halfway point, and then I'll trim the end of the butt section of this, and then I'll come back with a little tighter wrap, and I'll wrap my thread down back to the bend of the hook. In my style of tying, what I like to do is I like to apply all my materials the full length of the hook. I don't try to tie the tail in at one spot and another piece of material in another spot, because I figure sometimes with my tying skill, which isn't as great as some of you guys, is that my flies get lumpy. So I don't want my fly to necessarily be lumpy. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take either pearl crystal flash, or this just came in yesterday. This happens to be holographic, and I really like that green against the coloration of the peacock curl. So I'm wrapping my thread over the tinsel all the way back to the bend of the hook. And then I'm going to take 3 strands of peacock curl. And I'm not going to worry about getting them even on the bottom, because I don't even use that. I'm just going to cut this even. Wrap my thread back up past the halfway point, capture the tip of the peacock curl, and wrap my thread back to the bend of the hook opposite the barb. Bring my thread back past the halfway point. Most of my nymphs and things, when I'm tying them, I like to have a 50-50 ratio between the thorax and the abdomen. Then I'm going to take these, oops, one broke, that'll be alright. I'm just going to take peacock curl and I'm going to wrap it forward. And the reason why I like to tie it at the tip as opposed to tying it at the base is that a lot of times I find when I'm tying the peacock curl on, if I tie it from the base side up, the fibers having to cup forward. Or I tie it from the tip side, they tend to be perpendicular, cup slightly towards the rear. So that's what I like. I don't know if that happens all the time, but that's what happens to me. So I'm going to counter wrap this, which means to go in the opposite direction of the way that I applied the peacock curl, and I usually take 3 wraps. Then I'm going to tie this off right here. What I'm going to do is I usually prepare my hackles by pulling a little bit of the fibers off and then tying the stem on. Well, since this is going to be kind of a nymph, I'm not going to worry about if some of these hackles go back. I'm just going to tie it in and then wrap my thread back to about the halfway point on the hook. Then I'm going to take this hackle and I'm going to wrap it 3 times right in the middle, like this. Tie this. Then I'm going to take some white poly yarn and I'm going to divide this in half. So that it's not quite the thickness of one strand of the poly yarn. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lick this and I'm going to cut it even. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the ends of this with the eye of the hook. Just take a couple of wraps like this, and then I'm just going to pull this back just so it's about halfway on the bead here. Then from experience, I know if I just wrap this here, I can bury a lot of this stuff right underneath that bead, like this. And then and if not, I can tweak the bead like that. Cover up all the butt ends. So I'm going to hold this poly yarn back, forcing it back a little bit, then I'm going to trim this about the length of the body. That replaced the little biots, the white biots, for this fly. And then I decided to use some ice dub and some peacock colored ice dub. And I like ice dub. I was going to use another peacock curl there, but I really like the way that this ice dub reflects light, and it's a coarser material, so it's a little bit harder to get onto your hook. And if you notice my style of dubbing here, I have to go back and forth. I was never ever gifted enough to be able to put the dubbing on like this. It never goes on for me that way, so I have to go back and forth like this to get it to stick. But that works. That works for me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the dubbing down, and I have my thread positioned right in front of the bead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this dubbing back and kind of build it up here like that. And what that does is it helps force the wing and some of these hackles back. And then I'm just going to take some loose wraps forward right behind the bead, and then I'm going to tie this off right here. And this is the very first fly that I came up with, was this thing. I didn't know if it would catch fish or not, but it was certainly a lot easier to tie for me than the Prince Nymph. And so I took this up on the Poudre River near my house, and I went up to fish this, and the run that I fished, the first 5 casts I took, I caught fish. And I want to tell you, I ain't that good of a fisherman. So that was really something. I thought I might be on to something here.